Welcome to U.S. Homeless Stories.
You tell me who want to live like this. Been out here 1 year, and no other choice. I suffer from a brain stroke. I can't walk. The streets is where nobody want to live, nobody.
It's very scary out here. You don't know what's gonna happen to you. You know, and I ended up homeless. Begging, it's not good to beg.
I don't want to be out here, but I'm hoping real soon I can get off the streets and become with some humanized living. I don't want to be here, never, no more.
But I'm thankful I'm still alive, you know.
On U.S. Homeless Stories, today's story begins in Los Angeles, a city of fame, film, and endless dreams. In Los Angeles, more than 75,000 people are experiencing homelessness, and nearly 70% are unsheltered. They are not hidden in shelters. They live on sidewalks, inside tents, surrounded by waste, illness, and constant fear. In a city where real estate is measured in millions, tens of thousands of people are treated as disposable. When a city rich enough to create million-dollar dreams leaves tens of thousands without a safe place to sleep, what does the American dream really mean? This film is a call to conscience and humanity. Stay until the end. What unfolds in Los Angeles may change how we see success, progress, and responsibility. If this story resonates with you, leave a comment, leave a like, and subscribe to U.S. Homeless Stories so these voices are no longer ignored. 1. Statistics and current reality. Los Angeles is often seen as a city of success and opportunity, yet beneath that image lies a reality shaped by scale and contradiction. As of 2025, official data shows that more than 72,000 people are experiencing homelessness across Los Angeles County, making it one of the largest unhoused populations in the United States. Within the city of Los Angeles alone, nearly 43,000 individuals live without stable housing, spread across neighborhoods that exist side by side. With some of the most expensive real estate in the country, the concentration is striking. In areas such as Skid Row, a zone of less than 1 square mile, thousands of people navigate daily life without permanent shelter. Countywide, a significant portion of unhoused residents live outdoors, in tents, vehicles, and temporary structures, often moving repeatedly as conditions change. While recent counts show a decline in street homelessness in certain districts, the overall numbers remain at levels that strain every system designed to respond. Housing costs continue to be a defining pressure. By mid-2025, the median rent for a 2-bedroom apartment in Los Angeles reached approximately $2,900 per month, while wages for low-income workers have not kept pace. This gap means that losing a job, facing a medical bill, or missing rent once can be enough to push someone into long-term instability. At the same time, more than 1 in 5 households in the county struggles with food insecurity, revealing how close many residents live to the edge. Yet the statistics do not only describe crisis, they also point to a continuous human effort. Outreach teams, volunteers, and local organizations connect with tens of thousands of people each year, offering food, hygiene support, medical care, and pathways toward housing. These actions may appear small against numbers this large, but they serve as anchors of dignity in a system under constant pressure. When a city counts tens of thousands living without homes, how do we measure what it means to belong? This story is only beginning. What comes next will move beyond the numbers, toward moments that quietly reshape understanding. And if this perspective resonates, gently liking the video or subscribing to U.S. Homeless Stories is a simple way to continue accompanying the stories ahead. 2. Illness and health crisis. In Los Angeles, homelessness is closely tied to health strain, creating a cycle that quietly worsens over time. According to the Los Angeles County Department of Public Health, data from 2024 to 2025 indicates that nearly 4 out of every 10 unhoused individuals live with untreated mental health conditions, while over 45% report at least one chronic physical illness that requires regular medical attention. Without stable shelter, even manageable conditions become harder to control, turning daily survival into a continuous health risk. the scale of need contrasts sharply with access. Los Angeles County operates more than 80 public health clinics. Yet street outreach remains essential because traditional systems are difficult to reach without transportation, documentation, or a fixed address. In response, mobile medical teams and street-based providers conducted over 100,000 health-related outreach contacts in a single year, focusing on wound care, respiratory issues, mental health support, and referrals. In dense areas like Skid Row, where thousands live within less than 1 square mile, these services are often the only consistent form of care available. Substance-related health strain further complicates this picture. County reports show that while emergency overdose incidents declined in recent years due to expanded harm reduction efforts, fentanyl remains involved in the majority of drug-related health emergencies among the unhoused. More than 50,000 harm reduction kits are now distributed annually across Los Angeles County, reflecting both progress and the depth of ongoing vulnerability. Yet within these numbers, human presence still matters. Outreach nurses, peer counselors, and volunteers return to the same streets week after week, building trust where systems alone cannot. These encounters may be brief, but they reinforce a sense of dignity and continuity in lives marked by disruption. If your health depended on street outreach rather than a clinic appointment, what kind of care would you hope someone offered you? This part of the story is still unfolding. What comes next will reveal how environment and daily exposure shape survival in ways statistics can only hint at. And if these stories resonate with you, gently liking the video or subscribing to US Homeless Stories is a quiet way to continue accompanying the journeys ahead. Three, underlying causes and cycles of crisis. Beneath the visible presence of homelessness in Los Angeles lies a chain of pressures that often begins long before anyone steps onto the street. Housing instability here is shaped by a city where everyday life leaves little room for recovery when something goes wrong. According to Los Angeles County data, 2025, nearly 60% of unhoused residents experienced a major financial shock, such as job loss, reduced hours, or an unexpected medical cost, within the year leading up to losing their housing. In an environment this expensive, setbacks rarely remain temporary. Affordability remains the defining factor. Reports from the California Housing Partnership, 2024 to 2025, show that Los Angeles offers only one affordable rental unit for every 4 extremely low-income households. Over the past 5 years, rents have risen by more than 30%. While income growth at the lower end has lagged far behind, stability for many depends on a fragile balance that can collapse without warning. Once housing is lost, the path back becomes increasingly narrow. County service records reveal that thousands of individuals cycle repeatedly between street settings, shelters, and short-term programs, often without reaching permanent housing. Temporary relief may arrive, but without long-term affordability, the same pressures resurface. This cycle reflects not personal failure, but gaps in prevention and early support. Yet within these patterns, there are signs of responsibility and care. Eviction prevention programs and emergency rental assistance have helped thousands remain housed, demonstrating that timely intervention can interrupt the cycle before it deepens. These outcomes point to a shared obligation to respond earlier, not later. If stability in this city can disappear so quickly, how do we decide who is protected from the fall? This story continues beyond causes alone. What comes next will focus on those most affected by these pressures, where a subtle moment offers a deeper understanding. And if this reflection stays with you, gently liking the video or S. Four, forgotten vulnerable groups. Within Los Angeles' vast homelessness landscape, certain groups remain consistently overlooked, even as the overall crisis draws attention. County data from LAHSA 2025 shows that adults aged 55 and older now make up roughly 25% of the unhoused population, a sharp increase over the past decade. Aging on the streets brings added challenges, as declining health and limited mobility collide with a system not designed for long-term senior care outside stable housing. Racial disparities remain pronounced. According to the 2025 Los Angeles homeless count, Black Angelenos represent about 32% of the unhoused population, despite accounting for less than 8% of the county's total residents. This imbalance reflects long-standing inequalities in housing access, income stability, and exposure to displacement. For many, homelessness is not an isolated event, but the final outcome of years spent navigating unequal systems. Families, women, and young people face different, often quieter risks. In 2025, county programs reported more than 1,200 women and gender-diverse individuals seeking protection through specialized housing due to safety concerns. At the same time, youth under 25 accounted for approximately 15% of those experiencing homelessness, many aging out of foster care without stable support. Families with children continue to move between temporary arrangements, often trying to keep school attendance uninterrupted in a district serving hundreds of thousands of students. Veterans, though supported by dedicated programs, still represent about 7% of the unhoused population in Los Angeles County. Their presence on the streets highlights how even structured assistance can fall short without long-term housing options. These groups are not defined by vulnerability alone, but by resilience that often goes unseen. Targeted outreach, culturally responsive services, and trauma-informed care have helped many reconnect with stability, yet gaps remain. When certain lives are repeatedly counted but rarely heard, how do we decide whose struggles matter most? This chapter does not stand on its own. Ahead, the focus shifts to the network of organizations working to respond and the limits they face, revealing a moment that reframes how help reaches the streets. And if these stories resonate, gently liking the video or subscribing to U.S. Homeless Stories is a natural way to continue following the journeys still unfolding. Five, hundreds of organizations, but homeless, still on the streets. Los Angeles has assembled one of the most expansive homelessness response systems in the United States, stretching across a county of more than 4,000 square miles. According to LAHSA and Los Angeles County Records, 2025. Over 200 nonprofit and community-based organizations are formally contracted to provide homelessness services. These include street outreach, food distribution, hygiene support, medical care, mental health services, and housing navigation. On the surface, the infrastructure appears comprehensive, supported by billions of dollars in public funding and years of policy attention. Yet the experience on the streets reveals a persistent gap between services and stability. Despite the availability of tens of thousands of shelter and interim housing beds on any given night, official counts show that more than half of unhoused individuals in Los Angeles County continue to live outdoors. For many, shelters are temporary, overcrowded, or mismatched to personal needs, while long-term housing options remain limited by affordability and supply. As a result, people often move from one form of short-term support to another, without reaching permanence. Outreach teams play a critical role in this system. County data shows that tens of thousands of street engagements are recorded each year, as workers return repeatedly to the same locations to offer assistance and build trust. These interactions are rarely one-time events. They involve ongoing conversations, follow-ups, and attempts to guide individuals through complex systems that require time, paperwork, and patience. Progress, when it comes, is often slow and fragile. Even so, the presence of these organizations matters deeply. Volunteers who return daily, caseworkers who remember names, and community groups that maintain consistent outreach help reduce isolation and uphold a sense of dignity. Their efforts may not change the numbers overnight, but they shape the lived reality of homelessness in meaningful ways. When a city mobilizes so many resources, yet sees so little visible change, how should responsibility be understood? By effort alone, or by outcomes over time? If these reflections resonate with you, gently liking the video or subscribing to U.S. Homeless Stories is a quiet way to continue accompanying the stories being shared. Six, current efforts and ongoing challenges. In Los Angeles, recent efforts to address homelessness reflect a city searching for balance between urgency and long-term change. Since 2023, programs such as Inside Safe have expanded rapidly, with city data showing that tens of thousands of people have been moved from sidewalks, encampments, and vehicles into interim housing. In several areas of the city, unsheltered homelessness declined by double-digit percentages in 2025, suggesting that focused, place-based interventions can alter street conditions when resources align. Shelter and interim housing capacity has continued to grow alongside these initiatives. Los Angeles County now operates more than 200 shelter and temporary housing sites, providing tens of thousands of beds each night. Outreach and housing navigation teams have also increased in scale, recording over 100,000 street engagements per year, according to county service data. These efforts represent a shift toward proactive engagement, recognizing that many people living on the streets will not seek help unless it comes directly to them. Despite these advances, the path forward remains uneven. Temporary placements do not guarantee permanence, especially in a city where affordable housing remains scarce. County housing reports show that less than 1/4 of the housing needed for extremely low-income residents is currently available, creating bottlenecks that slow progress. Time-limited subsidies, strict eligibility requirements, and administrative delays mean that some individuals cycle back into instability after brief periods indoors. The human cost of these gaps is subtle but persistent. Each transition requires adaptation, trust, and resilience, often under stress. Outreach workers and service providers describe progress measured not in rapid transformation, but in consistency, showing up again, following up again, and rebuilding confidence step by step. These efforts do not always appear in headline statistics, yet they shape daily experience on the streets. If meaningful change takes time in a city this large, how do we sustain commitment when results are gradual and imperfect? These realities remind us that addressing homelessness is not a single solution, but an ongoing process shaped by policy, resources, and human connection. And if these reflections resonate with you, gently liking the video or subscribing to U.S. Homeless Stories is a quiet way to continue accompanying the stories being shared. 7. Core issues, policy decisions, and rays of hope. At the center of Los Angeles' homelessness crisis is not a lack of effort, but a mismatch between need and long-term capacity. County housing assessments from 2025 show that less than 20% of the affordable housing required for extremely low-income residents currently exists, leaving tens of thousands of people competing for a fraction of available units. In a city where housing costs continue to rise faster than wages, this shortage shapes every outcome that follows, regardless of intent. Public investment reflects the scale of concern. Los Angeles County now allocates billions of dollars annually toward homelessness response, funding housing development, outreach teams, healthcare services, and prevention programs. Central to this strategy is the Housing First model, which prioritizes placing people into permanent housing without preconditions. Independent evaluations consistently show that the majority of individuals placed into permanent supportive housing remain housed after 1 year, reinforcing that stability is achievable when structural barriers are removed. Yet building that housing remains slow, constrained by land availability, zoning rules, community opposition, and long approval timelines. Prevention has emerged as one of the most quietly effective tools. County data indicates that thousands of households each year avoid losing housing entirely through short-term rental assistance, eviction defense, and early intervention. These outcomes rarely appear in public debate, yet they represent lives that never enter the homelessness system at all. In many cases, modest support delivered at the right moment prevents years of instability later. Hope in Los Angeles often takes this understated form. It appears in policy shifts that favor early action, in neighborhoods that accept supportive housing despite resistance, and in individuals whose trajectories change because help arrives before options disappear. These moments do not solve the crisis overnight, but they reveal that progress is not abstract. It is the result of choices made consistently over time. If stability depends not only on resources, but on when and how they are used, how much responsibility do we share in acting before crisis becomes visible? Los Angeles continues to stand at a crossroads, where long-term commitment matters as much as immediate response. And if these reflections stay with you, gently liking the video or subscribing to U.S. Homeless Stories is a simple way to remain connected to stories that seek understanding beyond headlines and numbers. Eight, conclusion and call to action. As this chapter draws to a close, Los Angeles stands revealed not simply as a city of extremes, but as a living space where human vulnerability and collective responsibility intersect every day. Homelessness here is not confined to isolated corners. It exists alongside everyday life, unfolding quietly near schools, transit stations, and neighborhoods where the city continues to move forward. The scale of the issue in 2025 reflects effort and struggle at the same time, signs of response, yet also reminders of how easily stability can be lost. For people living without stable housing, the search for meaning often becomes a search for continuity. A familiar face, a place where one is recognized, or a service that returns consistently can provide a sense of grounding when everything else feels temporary. These moments preserve dignity in conditions that rarely allow for rest or certainty. They remind us that housing is not only about shelter, but about belonging and the ability to imagine a future beyond the next day. For Los Angeles, the significance runs deeper than policy or funding. A city reveals its values through the lives it protects and the spaces it creates for recovery. The choices made, where housing is built, how early intervention is offered, and whether compassion guides public decisions, shape whether the city grows more divided or more humane. Responsibility does not rest in one place. It is shared across institutions, communities, and individuals who influence the tone of public life. If the line between stability and instability is thinner than it appears, how should a city respond before that line is crossed? This story does not end with this reflection. It continues in the lives still unfolding beyond the frame, in moments of resilience that remain unseen, and in decisions yet to be made. And if these stories have stayed with you, gently liking the video or subscribing to US Homeless Stories is a quiet way to continue accompanying the people and realities that deserve understanding, patience, and dignity.